All right. How's everybody doing today? It is Wednesday. It is June 29th. Oh my gosh, June 29th. We are here with a monumental episode of the Dev Talk Show. And if you've been watching recently, then you might know what's really great about this episode. What's great about this episode, as I turn to look at my other screen here, is there are three heads tonight. Rich is back. Rich is back, and I am psyched that Rich is back.
I'm psyched
I don't
too.
mean to make that sound like, oh God, Rich, I've been stuck with Chris, or anything like that, right? But
that's the audience.
We've been actually having a good time. Had some really good shows, I think. But great to see you.
It's awesome to be back. Good to take a little bit of time away. So end of the year, fiscal year is done. So it's now we can focus on getting some good content back here in the show that we do. So looking forward to it.
That's cool. Last week, Chris and I were catching up, and we were talking a little bit about the event you guys hosted over at the Franklin Mills movie theater. And I just said how great I was. I don't know if you heard that show, right? But I was telling Chris, it was just great to be seeing some old faces again and being back in the community. And I was pumped up.
Oh, same. There was over 50 people there, which for a first time in a couple of years in-person event is pretty awesome. And there was definitely energy in the room. Everybody on the way out said, hey, we got to do this again, figure out how we can get us all back in person again. So we're working on that. We'll stay tuned. If you're in the area, there could be some cool things happening soon.
Awesome. Chris, how are you doing?
Pretty good. I feel like we've been cruising along, doing a lot of new stuff here, things that were new to all of us. A few weeks ago, .NET MAUI was new to us, and then we tried building a Visual Studio Code extension. That was fun. And then, so it's been neat that I think here on this show, we've been marching along with things that are new to us and hopefully new to the audience. And I hope that the perspective of kind of seeing us, like how do we deal with it as newcomers, is helpful, because there's certainly sometimes when I go around watching videos or watching other shows, it just seems like, hey, watching the expert is great. I love learning from the expert. And then I go to try and I don't know how to get started. So we kind of focused on, getting started with stuff, which has been fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Our acting skills have really come to play here. I don't know if everyone knows these things, but generally, Chris and I, we know everything, right? We know all this stuff inside and out. But when we put up something new, like how to build your own first Visual Studio Code extension, we pretend that we would be really good actors if that was the case. We do fumble our way through these things a bit. And I think there's a balance, on our show. I mean, I think it's good that we try to provide both types of service, where sometimes we actually study stuff up and we know it, or we just know it from working with it, day in and day out in our jobs. And then other times, like, we're learning, and I always get a lot out of those shows. They're fun for me, and I hope they're fun for the audience. We try.
Yeah. Well, I did, while not seeing them live Wednesday nights when you guys were doing them, I did go back, sometime over the course of before the weekend was up, and go watch or listen to the show. And there's a lot that I learned as well, just being remote. So great work keeping things up and running while I was away.
That's cool. Hey, love the shirt. How do we get that shirt? That's nice.
So that was, I'll see if I can find it. There was a public link that had those out available. I had to buy it. We weren't doing conferences. I wasn't able to go to build and get swag, so I had to go buy it. I think it was it's the same company that a lot of the community type shirts have come through. I'll find a link and post it. But yeah,
so not available at Old Navy.
Definitely not. No, this is a special order.
So we've had some good shows. But how's your summer going? You getting your summer kicked off? Have you done anything fun, or has it been mostly work? I know you were closing up the year, fiscal year.
Mostly work, but I did take last week to get away for a week, which was kind of nice because it was right before, and I'm finishing doing it this weekend, shipping my daughter up to Boston to go start a new job. So
Isn't that
she
a
graduated
song?
in May.
That sounds like a song.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes, wow.
No, that's cool.
It's all
Wow.
quick. So it was great. We got to spend a great week together and in the mountains and did some kayaking and hiking and stuff. And there are rattlesnakes in Pennsylvania, in case you didn't know.
I
I
was just talking to somebody about that. I think I was talking to a friend from Arizona, maybe, or somewhere. We were talking about snakes, and I said, no, no, there are poisonous. There are rattlesnakes in Pennsylvania. Pretty unusual. Did you find yourself bumping into one?
I didn't, but my daughter, she was on a hike and she was walking through the woods. Like, comes back after the hike and says, "Yeah, it was. I heard this strange sound. It's kind of like that, that rattlesnake sound." And we looked it up, and there's a timber rattlesnake that is native to Pennsylvania. So,
hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, we've got
a little safety tip.
lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, and snake. No, no
And
tigers. I
snakes.
don't think there's definitely no tigers in Pennsylvania. We do have lions. Those
Mm-hmm.
little mountain lion kind of. They're not exactly like huge.
The good old
Lion.
Nittany
We have
lion.
some kind of lion, some kind
Yeah.
of wild cat, I should say. Maybe they're not really lions, but we do have some cats. We got bears. We got snakes.
Mm-hmm.
We got it all. So anyway, what do you got tonight, Rich? You got any little tidbits for us?
Well, I haven't been saving them up. I actually, well, although some of them do go back a little ways, but I thought, hey, maybe we could kind of do, just a couple of announcements that have come out over the last week. I think there's one or two that might go back almost to the build time frame, if not
Right.
there completely. So, do you want to share my screen? I'm not sure if you
Yeah,
are.
absolutely. You
Cool.
are
So
on.
this is a big one. This is kind of
Love
a
the
big
tidbits.
announcement.
Oh yeah.
The fact that Copilot is generally available to all developers. It was said, at Build that this was coming. So this came out in the last week or so, I believe. The 21st. So last Tuesday. But yeah, there is. So if you haven't had a chance to try Copilot or try it out, you are now freely available to go ahead and do that. And there's a great blog post about it. There's going to be some kind of a charge associated with it, but there's also free for students and those who maintain popular open source projects. So go and check that out if you haven't seen it. I know we've done a show and it's come up a couple times as we've done some coding, and it's surprising how helpful it can be, but it's your code, so make sure that what it's adding is what you really want to put into your application, essentially.
Yeah.
That's a good message in general for developers, right? I'm sure you guys both agree, Chris, right? I talk to developers, when we're training people or whatever. I talk about standards and at work, and I always say, listen, you're responsible for the code that you put in the repo. You might want to Google something or go to Stack Overflow and find a great sample or use Copilot or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you put it in there, right?
Yeah, these are just suggestions, right? It's not saying this is how you do it or best practice or anything like that. It's offering some guidance so that you don't have to take your hands off the keyboard and go Google or Bing, a solution or the next step in what it is that you're working on, which we may wind up doing tonight. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, the tough part about that too is many projects, I think, today rely on open source, and in the end, that's your functionality that's being shipped, and that's hard, right? Because even the best among us, I'm not sure that we can go spelunking through all of the open source that we rely upon. That's a hard thing. Doesn't make me any less responsible for the outcome. But it's a hard problem. I mean, so this is on a much smaller scale. The code is being placed right in front of you. Yeah.
Right in there for you to read, right? You can read every line of it. And so you kind of have no excuses with this one, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Well,
Very
that's
true.
cool. Copilot. Yeah. I mean, we've played around with that on the show. I think it's fun. It's cool. Good stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. So let's take a look at this one. Zoom in a little bit here. This is I thought this was really cool. So this is we've talked about API management on the show before, right? Having a service in Azure that will be a layer over top of your APIs wherever they might live. So on premises, in Azure, other clouds, doesn't matter. As long as we can route traffic to it, we can get access to it. This is actually really cool. It actually gives a interesting way of what it means to route traffic to it. So this is called a self-hosted gateway for API management. Now, I think we've had a previous version of this, but this latest version of it essentially sits in a container that you can put into your environment right next to where those APIs are. So oftentimes the conversation we have with customers is, well, my APIs are on premises and they're locked behind, the firewalls and network security, and we can't get access to them from the services in Azure. And there's network configurations that we can do and architecture we can do to make that happen. This actually puts the API management piece right next to it in a container. And the beauty of that is it essentially works on an outbound request and says, hey, it goes outbound over 443 and says, do you have any work for me? So even though it's sitting in your environment and we're not pinging into your environment inbound, it's communication that goes outbound. So this is, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but this is something that I think, for a lot of scenarios where information is still on premises, this might be something to look at.
It sounds really cool. Sounds similar to like the hybrid connections you would use with an Azure App Service, maybe, or something like that, to connect into your data center. And this is sort of like a similar kind of concept, but yet to expose your APIs, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And it has to, it has to be able to phone home on a routine basis, and it has to be able to still connect to, because it's bound to the API management that lives in the cloud. So it has to still be able to talk to that, because that's kind of how it understands and gets sees if there's work available. But I think this is really cool. We've had a lot of conversation with customers around this very topic. So it's something to go take a look at if you're in that similar kind of an architecture. Let's see.
API management, really cool stuff in general, right?
Yeah,
a lot of great features in API management. Matter of fact, I installed, I was playing around with it last or 2 days ago, I was installing API management as in a test subscription to look at particular features and things like that. Really cool.
Very cool. And yeah, there's it's becoming commonplace in architectures when we talk to customers now. So awesome.
When you talk to people about like Azure, like it seems to come up really quickly when API management, APIM, right?
I mean, all the conversations now are microservices. So how do we, APIs are core parts of that. So
right.
Let's see. I got a couple more here. This one is I think we talked about static web apps, but it was probably a long time ago. We were probably in the studio when we did this last. But static web apps are, just there's no code behind like we do with traditional .NET, ASP.NET applications or server-based applications. This is just your HTML, JavaScript, your images, and your CSS. Put them in some place and let my applications talk to it. Now, you might need some functionality that happens, but you do that a little differently, right? So your JavaScript that's included inside of there can be talking on the back end to certain API services, tying back to what we were just talking about earlier and the last message. But when we launched it, Azure Functions was the only thing that you were able to talk to in the back end. Things were kind of wired and connected to make that happen. Well, now you see that they've added some additional services, and those services are other app services, because you might have APIs that live inside of our app services. You might have APIs that live inside of container apps when you think about microservices, but then you might have everything all together in one big gateway like in API management. So this basically gives those API connections the ability to connect to those into your static web app component. So I thought that was pretty cool, because that's a pretty big expansion of capabilities inside of there. And static web apps might be one of those things when we think about building someday our DevTalkShow application, this might be an option, right? Because we're not doing things in there other than kind of displaying data.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Static stuff is another popular thing. I mean, it's like, God, you got to have a solution for everything in Azure. You know, what do you guys got to do it all, right?
Well, I mean, there's multiple ways to do static web apps too, right? You can do pages in GitHub, right? That's one way of making it happen over there, right? So it's an option, and yeah, just letting people know about it. That's what a lot of these announcements are.
I think the meat and potatoes of this announcement is right underneath those 3 links. And if we could zoom in on that, because here's the thing. Here's the thing about the headline. The headline, like Azure Static Web Apps, great. Okay. What does that mean? It means that, like, if you're building a traditional, let's say we're doing ASP.NET MVC, or even like Node Express, there's a backend, right? There's a server that's being hit, and some HTML is being rendered, and then it's being sent back to you. And there's this whole architecture now, and I don't want to just limit it to spas. That's why it's not called Azure Spa Apps, because it doesn't have to be a single page application. Your static front end code could link to other HTML pages. That's what like Jekyll does that, right? But this paragraph here, to me, this is the thing. This is the feature. Because what's the pain point with a static web app? The pain point is always when you go talk to your backends, no matter what they are. It doesn't necessarily have to even be cloud hosted, just some server. The pain point is always that you get stuck in Core's configuration purgatory, right?
Right.
That's what always happens. And what I love about reading this paragraph as you were talking there, Rich, is it is saying that you now get to link a resource from app service, container apps, API management, maybe it's functions, whatever. You get to link it to your Azure Static Web App. So now, without you doing anything, /API gets routed to that resource, and the Core's problem goes away.
Nice.
Like, that piece there is so much bigger than what the headline says, in my opinion.
Buried the lead.
It's like your API is part of, it's at the same domain, I guess, right? Because it's just /API, right?
Yeah.
It's like part of the site at that point, which is cool.
I feel like
it's not. It lives elsewhere.
Right. It's really actually somewhere else, right? Except that it's /API as far as your app's concerned. So therefore, Cores just works. And I can't tell you how many times. I'm going to be careful about who I say this about, because I mean, these are real teams, real customers, real organizations. How many times do we hear that, hey, at some weird inopportune time, the website stopped working, and in the end, what eventually gets figured out, front end couldn't talk to back end anymore. It was Cores. Like, It happens a lot. I've witnessed it enough. So I was reading that paragraph and going like, this is big. I think it's bigger than it sounds. And it's not limited to .NET apps. Like, your front end could be Flask. Like they just say right there, your front end could be Flask. It could be Express. It could be whatever. Who cares? So that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. I love that. I can't wait to try it.
Pick up there. Cool. All right. 2 more, because I don't want to take the whole show doing this, but this. Go ahead.
No, I'm joking. I was like, but wait, there's more. You got more?
So this I thought was cool. It is a 28-inch monitor with a 16 by 18 screen size. Okay, so the resolution is 2550 pixels wide by 2880 tall. So the idea is that you could essentially put 2 1440 height pieces of content there, and stack them, right? It's a different. You think of the different configurations you might have. You know, we've got those large wraparound widescreen monitors. We've got monitors that people will kind of hang or portrait size off to the sides, and this is another kind of example of doing something portrait wise. And look at how this takes up essentially the whole real estate of the screen, right? This is video editing. So there's my video, there's my audio components, there's all the different tracks I've got. I can see it all right in that one big window. So I just thought it was a really cool layout. I'm interested. I'm like that. I was that close to pulling the trigger at one point. Like, now I'll let it go a little bit. But I thought this was cool.
Yeah, that's something kind of stuff we don't typically talk about on the show, right? Like there's all kinds of cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
So this is not anything you're affiliated with,
Nope.
right? But
Nope.
just
somebody
cool.
tweeted. Yeah, somebody tweeted it, and I thought, wow, I got to check into that. So.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And it comes with a stand, right? So it's one monitor, right?
Yes.
If you're saying you would just lay it out that way. Yeah, let's see these other pictures. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, so it does come with the stand, right? So the low profile stand that's there, which is pretty nice to have. If we look at the back on the inputs there, there's they got a couple of HDMI inputs, and I would guess that there's some control that lets you essentially have one of those inputs go up top, one of those go down the bottom, or define it in your system display settings to say just give me the whole screen.
Yeah. So okay. So I didn't think I realized this. So with multiple inputs, it's actually treating it as two different screens.
That I would have to read into and see. It could just be an AV, but I could see one of them being a picture-in-picture.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's cool. Interesting.
All right. Last thing. Just
and right now, people who are watching live, look under your seat. Because Chris, you get a monitor. You get a monitor, Rich. You get a monitor. Anyone who's watching now does not get a monitor. Chris has got his hand over his. No, we are not giving away monitors, but wouldn't that be cool, right?
How would they get there?
I got to get a chyron up that says the Dev Talk Show is not responsible for what Andy says.
Yeah, right. Well, listen, wait. If it was under your seat, not everybody gets one. If there's a coupon under your seat, check right now.
Right.
There may be a lucky winner. I can't say for sure if there is or is not. What's that?
Operators are standing by.
Operators are standing by. All right. Well, let's just anyway. What's next?
One more thing. So, really quick, there is, if you don't know, there is developerblogs.microsoft.com or devblogs.microsoft.com. There's always new articles out there every day. Go check them out. There's some really cool information out there, including this one, which is getting started with DevOps in .NET MAUI. So we're going to eventually talk about .NET MAUI and an application here. But this article really goes into details around making sure the things that you need to put in place to get pipelines created for Android, iOS, Mac OS, regardless of, for Windows, regardless of which platform you're building for in your .NET MAUI app. There's a lot of detail in here, some actual YAML files that you can use for whether it's GitHub Actions or Azure DevOps pipelines, and a lot of detailed information to make this a seamless process. So maybe it's something we do in a future show and kind of go back there and get this into a repository and get some pipelines or some actions against it. But if you're at that stage already, go check this one out because it's a good bit of information.
All right. And that's a good segue.
Kinda. Yeah, what are we talking about tonight, Andy?
What's your shirt say?
Using Microsoft.MAUI.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about that?
I think it's a good idea. All right. So
all right.
I did listen to the one the show that you guys did a few weeks ago on .NET MAUI, and just kind of I think that kind of set the foundation for getting started. I think you guys did some pages as well, if I'm not mistaken. So what we kind of talked about in the background was, hey, can we get an application created that might be able to pull data in from something or show data from some source. So we thought, well, we've got a large supply of data in our YouTube environments, and maybe we can use that to build a .NET mobile application or DevTalkShow.NET MAUI mobile application. So see what we can do here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I will be honest. So we talked, we kind of joked around at the beginning that, we go look at documentation, try to build things together. I did this with a customer a couple weeks ago. So now I'm trying to redo it from scratch again. So we might run into some hiccups as we do it, but let's take a look, see how it goes.
Yeah, let's have some
Yeah,
fun
I
with
think to
Maui.
be clear, we realized that this wasn't a presentation. This was, hey, we're going to try and build something. And it's not like there's a swap out baked cake ready to bring in. Yeah. So, but hey, that's, we like, if you've watched the show, you know that we like to do that. And that's part of why we're here, is to hack around a little bit.
Yeah. And one of the things that, if we bring up our, we have our YouTube channel out there. Let's see, do this guy. Sorry, wrong window. So we go to YouTube, there's our YouTube page and our channel, and hey, there's us. But there's a lot of videos in here, so we've got a lot to pull from. There's our Google APIs, and I think when we did the show on actions and static web pages, going back to the static web page frameworks, we use that data to try and populate a blog posting engine, essentially. So we know we have a lot of data there. We already had access to the APIs. Instead of going down the path of right now talking to the APIs, all I did was I called them via the dev harness, or the API harness that's there, and pulled in the one right now that we only really need is this, which is our videos collection, right? So this is just the 5 latest videos that we created. They're all in here in an array with all the various attributes and links to them. So we don't have to worry about right now configuring an API call or any of those kind of things. We're just going to take this data and bringing it in. So I started to set some of this up so it was not a long, or maybe to get a little bit quicker at this process. So inside of here is essentially a class, static class that is a long string with our search results in it, and that's just basically a copy and paste of what we just looked at.
Sort of mocking out what you would get if we called an API.
Exactly. And to that end too, I also created some kind of a YouTube context where it's just going to load this and pop those results back into this this class. This class is a model of our YouTube video. And if you remember the trick, we have that JSON file that we looked at. We pasted it in here, paste this class, wired everything up the way we want.
Okay. I was going to ask that. I was going to ask how did you build the class that the JSON deserializer is going to use? Because I know that one of the things you can do is paste as JSON, but that's cool that that worked pretty well, right? You right click, paste as JSON, or sorry, paste as class, and boom.
Yeah. Well, paste special and JSON as classes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that I think do I still have Zoom it? Nope. Shoot.
I say that every week. I did, where I go, oh, I didn't start Zoom it again, right? Yeah. See, if you watch last week's show, you will see me doing the same thing where I go, Andy, hold on, let me start Zoom it.
I don't think it comes up that way. Oh, his comes up. Zoom it. Yeah. If you wait, I guess look at that. It does come up.
Yep. So if you do this, and I think this with the menu should work. Paste. Boop. There we go. And then there is.
Little applause.
There you go. Just a little. Now I need bigger applause. There you go. All right. So you get the idea.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's cool.
Yeah, because and what's great is if you notice the JSON that is there, it is what they have is essentially an array of items, And when it does it, it brings it in as an array of items. So what I did was I changed it and said, just make it a list of a specific type. In this case, the type is YouTube video, but I still have to put that property decoration around there so that when the JSON file comes in, it knows how to map the property that's in the JSON to how I've renamed it here locally. So,
right.
Let me ask Chops.
Sorry.
Are you saying that it's the font needs to be bigger, or that you're happy with it? So just let us know when you get a chance.
Yeah. Hey, Chops. Yeah. So one interesting thing, and I see this a lot, right? When people do like this, JSON serialization kind of stuff is, you typically you've got a on line 13 public string kind, right? And typically we case those things. But a lot, when you're doing this JSON serialization stuff, you usually want to match. It usually needs to match the JSON, right? So it can find those values. But I think if you use the JSON property name, you can actually uppercase those if you want. As a way to do that, it's sort of like but still, I think this is all pretty common to see like lowercase naming when you get JSON stuff.
Yeah, where I've really seen where this JSON property name has saved me is when you're making OData calls, because you inevitably get back that OData reference with the @ symbol, and you can't create a variable in there that does that. So having that be able to to sit in the top to decorate it, and then that gets handled by the converter essentially, so you don't have to figure out how to make your variables match up. So okay. All right. So we've got data. We have our main page, and right now, so this all I've done here, aside from add our models, the data, those kind of things, is this is a file new project. So we have our main page here, which is just our content page. There's nothing else here that is different from if you were to do file new project as well. And start up a .NET MAUI application. So it even has still the boilerplate counter-clicked component in there. I think if we do, let's see, I should have this pixel. Okay. Let's see. So even with that might take a few seconds to run. And welcome, Chop. Sorry, I missed intros there. And I'm flying a little bit blind, guys, because I lost the screen because of the way we're sharing here. So feel free to let me know if you have questions or thoughts or comments.
You mean you lost the chat screen?
Yeah, and my other video which has you guys in it, so I can't see you all in real time.
Okay, we will keep you posted.
Cool.
What do you emulator coming up here? Android emulator.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna start that. That's gonna take a few seconds.
We did this last time where we got it worked in the emulator, which was cool, and worked on my phone, which was pretty cool. And what's interesting about that is I remember there were some, I don't know enough about Android development. So when I say this, I want to be very fair, but I have an AMD Ryzen, and there has been some chatter about like AMD something, Android emulator something. There are some folks who have been working with Android on Twitch. There might be some shows that even you folks watch who were like, oh, it doesn't work for me. And I can just say that I did nothing more than install Visual Studio 2022. It's not like I went out and got the Android emulator separately or anything like that. And it just worked. So I don't know. I wish I didn't have to say your mileage may vary, but I was really happy about the experience. Like, I didn't do anything. I just installed Visual Studio 2022 and and it just worked. So I'm really happy. And I feel bad if I'm making somebody else feel like it didn't work for me. I know I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
I thought you had a pretty good experience
Yeah.
performance-wise, Chris, when you did it. And sometimes these things can be slow, especially when you're presenting over Skype and things like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this is indicative of the traditional behavior.
Yeah, and I think did you guys look at this at all? The device manager?
Not really. We didn't look at it on the show. I looked at it just enough to say, okay, I'm pretending to be exactly what you've got there, a Pixel 5. It might have been API 30, 31, I don't know, but it's basically saying,
right.
Here's what you're emulating.
Exactly. Yeah, and that new feature will give you the ability to define what it is that you want your emulation to be, which is pretty awesome. All built in the box when you install Visual Studio. So I just wanted to pull that out. So I think it is still deploying. I have had such a hard time today with the slow machine. I am actually ready. My project on Friday is to basically rebuild it and start from scratch. So
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, and I know that if you're on Intel, I believe there's a driver you can install because now we're going into a past life of mine where I'd never built an Android app before, but I was tasked to, and I remember slogging through it for a little while until I found that like there's some driver you can install or that like all of a sudden it flew. And I was just so excited. Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is actually a great experience. This was a very long time ago though, so I don't even know if anything I knew then applies, because this world changes so much so fast.
Yeah.
So is it?
I should be able to. Well, I'll let it run.
Emulators up. It kind of looks like it's deploying. I think that's what's happening there. Is it's deploying the app? Yeah. Yeah. So let's just take a look. Right. This is the file new project, and we made no changes yet. Right. So
nope.
Out of the box,
except for the files I added.
Right. You added the files, and you did change main page so that it is getting YouTube video results. Like that's coming in the main page's constructor now.
Right. So
okay.
Where or why that's in there is because we want to get those in here and load them when the page loads. So coming into here, this is our the MAUI program. Think of this almost like the it's not quite the app XAML or the app shell. It's a way of, it's almost analogous to what was used to be the startup or the program.
Yeah, it feels like startup CS. Yeah.
So because you've got your builder, and then you assign all your configuration components to your builder. So these are some of the fonts that we're going to make sure get included when we deploy to the application to where it's going. And then I've added some singleton classes in here. And the reason for that is I only want these classes to get created once. So I want to be able to reuse the information in there as we go through this page. Now, it probably, you can do it as a singleton, so it will one instance of that class and that will be it, right? Or you could do it as a transient.
Yeah, and it would instantiate that class every time, right?
Well,
yes, when I say every time,
dispose that class. Yeah.
When I say every time, does that mean does that mean every time the page is loaded? I think.
I believe so. Yes.
It would be interesting. We could prove that in some interesting ways. Like we could change it to transient, and we could have like the YouTube results class generate some GUID, and then we would then just throw it out on the screen. And that's a great way to learn, quite frankly, right? So you're playing with this the first time, and you're saying, hey, so what is the lifetime if I go add transient? What is the scope? Like, well, I don't know. Yeah. Let's have the class generate something that changes every time, and then we'll throw it up on the screen and see
what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't recall. I know they do have it in the documentation, and that was why we ended, at least for this one, I wound up settling on singleton. The page makes sense too, although that could be, I guess, transient too, right? Every time that page loads, it would need to get recreated, which is what you would want. So, okay. So we've got some, we've got the video results. We should go into our app program and, or how did we get here? Sorry.
All right. Hey, there we go.
Oh, well, that's because this happened.
Yeah. Here comes the emulator.
So, and we could, now that we've got the emulator up there and running, we certainly could leave this there and just do hot reloads where we can, right? Oh.
Oh, we blew up.
Always there for the support, Andy. Love
We
it.
blew up. We blew up in like the tiniest font in the history of all development. So, you know what they say? I actually don't know what they say, but unable to resolve service.
That's a dependency injection kind of thing, usually.
Right.
Okay.
And trying to instantiate main page and looking for what was it? YouTube video result or something like that.
Right. And that's what we had. Come on, Maui program. I mean, that was what we were trying to do here, right? So we have our interface, and then we have our class that would fulfill that interface. And then main page demo, or yeah, this is where we're trying to pick that back up.
So, is there an exception in that constructor of the YouTube video results?
Is there?
I want to pass in an YouTube video results.
Yes. There you go. Thank you, Andy.
Oh, don't thank him yet. It's got to compile, build, and run. Then you can thank him.
There you go.
Yeah. Look at the squigglies, but is that just...
I'm wondering why. Well, we'll see. Curious. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm curious why main page was added. This was part of the back in Maui program.cs, where the dependency injection is being set up. I wonder why main page had to be set there, but that's okay. We'll find out in a second.
I know you get that error if it's not there.
Okay.
What would typically happen? I think it's not this. This main page is equal to app shell. I believe that's why, because it needs that to drop into to know where to place that, if I'm not mistaken. But let's see. All right, so what we need to do is we need to take that videos and load it in, essentially, right? So we need to get that information. Right now, that information for us is over here in that context object. And that may not work. And maybe I'm over. You know how you do this, and you think, oh, we'll kind of wire it up how you might want to see it if it was really done. Maybe we're overthinking this, and we should just have whichever class. Make it simple. Let's kind of back up a bit. Yep. So let's just go to here.
Wait. Can you go back to the other thing?
Which other thing?
YouTube. The YouTube video results. No, not the object.
Oop.
The thing you run before.
This one?
No, this. I guess or was it the YouTube context? I don't know which one was it? The one you're in that had said, yeah, this. Sorry, that's the
Okay. Yep.
So this thing takes a property called results and then sets a property called results.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, that seems a little backwards. Like I think you shouldn't take anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's having. You know what I mean?
I absolutely do. Yeah, and that's why. So this is what I get for trying to do it during dinner.
Yeah, right. That's okay. We all, like you said, you go fast and you think about these things, and okay. So we take that out, I think, and make it like.
But we still need a property.
Yeah. So I would make it a property with like a a private setter or something like that, right? So you can set it in the constructor.
Yep. All right, let's just stop that. Cool. Okay. Prop. So this property should be
YouTube video result or something like that.
Well, actually just YouTube video results, because the list is included inside of there.
Yeah. Oh, that's why it's plural. Okay, great. You can call it result or call it whatever you want, I guess, right?
Yeah. Results works, right? So now we get, and then you could, for completeness, right, we can do.
Yeah, but I would make it like you want to make it a property. Right now you're using results as the same name, right? So make it capital results. Right. And now you can say, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Results dot results equal right.
Right, because we're gonna make that, this conversion here is gonna make this show up inside of there. Why are you complaining? It's not valid for this item. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you could make it like a private set anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do this kind of stuff, but I think that would work. And then you're setting it internally. And then if you want to get it, you can just get it.
Yep. And this is probably the thing that we should be injecting into the main page, because we want it basically just to give us the results object. Although this one,
for the sake of this kind of thing, it doesn't even need an interface. I mean, you could just you could all, well, I mean, you can make it static or something like that too if you wanted to. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could do this.
Okay.
It's just, this is demo, right? So
yeah. So if we call this class and we run it, it's going to load the results object for us, and then we could just use that results to paint the page.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this gets us away from having, well, where would our context object come from, right?
Yeah, no, you could totally make it, I mean, so you want to set that as the context like that? You could, yeah.
Right, and I think that's what.
So
because we said,
you need to provide the DI container instructions on how to do that, or you could just new it up inside here. I mean, it really depends on how. Like, I don't new up most things in my code, right? But this is a demo, and it's always tricky to figure out, like, how much we want to make it work and how much we want to make it, look like production code.
Right. And that was kind of where I was that exactly. I started to go down the, let's do the right things, and then now we're kind of backing away from that a little, which is fine. I'm not saying we shouldn't. So
Which is the right thing in a demo. It's tricky. I mean, there's nothing wrong with we could have made it an interface and inject it in and give it the instructions, but I think let's see if this works, then we can go back and let's do it the easy way first.
right,
I think.
and then we can go from there. So we've got our context object, and we could say our data bind. Data bind. That's not.
I can't help you here. I don't know the data binding stuff.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is basically say this content that we've got is going to be the it's going to be the context of our page.
Yeah, and this brings back some memories, but let me take a look. It's been a little while since I've I remember data bindings from the I guess they were popularly used in things like Knockout or WPF. I mean, they're used in a lot of applications now, right? Blazor has data binding stuff. But
exactly.
Okay, so to set the binding, let me take a look at what you're doing again.
Is it a property on the content page, like this dot something?
Is there a binding property? No? Okay.
Let
me take a look back here. I think maybe if we're trying to say that this page so it looks like
it's this.
You had data binding instead of binding context. We're doing data bind, I think. You got it now.
Context.
The whole context, right? Depends on how you're.
Does the page get like the whole context, and then that automatically filters down to the now we have to write XAML that somehow maps this up, right? It's been a while.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're on the right path. So if we go back to here, this is
what's that object? That's a collection, or no? It's a. So you would have to then use that thing and say, it would be like binding context dot results.
Exactly. Right? That's what I was missing. I was going items, and that's not what we needed.
Yeah.
So and to your point, Chris, yeah, you could just leave it context, and then when we go into the XAML for whatever our item collection is, we can say, well, it's the results that we're binding to there. It just depends how much other stuff that might be in that content outside of the results piece. How much of the other stuff do we want to include?
Right.
And for right now, probably not.
It's very much of an MVVM kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not what we've got going here, right? Because we're basically taking that and just dropping that in. Now we can get to that stage if this goes well.
Yeah,
but
sure.
That's just to get us something in there.
So do we need to work on our markup?
I think we do.
Okay.
Markup. There we go. Okay. So this is using essentially the markup that was in there from the what came over.
Right.
And the content page is essentially, it's got a scroll view inside of it, and there are a number of different controls inside of here that we can use, right? So this is just a vertical stack layout, and you've got the images and labels and buttons all stacked inside of there. We can do something similar, but the important thing is that the content page can only take one object. So we can't go ahead and say, well, I want a grid here.
Yep.
Right.
Because it'll basically cause an error, right?
Right. But things like scroll views can house other objects, and so that's why. So the content page consists of a scroll view, but yet the scroll view allows us to use something like a vertical stack layout where we could basically say, okay, well now first throw an image up, then throw a label, then throw a label, then throw a button. And
Exactly.
we probably want like is it like a list item?
Yeah.
Some sort, right?
Yeah. I remember from the old .NET framework days back in what, you had your data bind and you have your list collection, right? It's essentially something similar here in that we can do the collection view. There we go.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we can define that. So this could just be a place where our item goes for our collection. We can basically say, well, our item source is and this might be where we go back and change that up. So this might be our results here, and just make that.
Is it binding dot results or is it just binding space result? That's interesting. I guess binding is pretty.
Yeah. I think binding is, they call it an extension, and then just the.
Right.
Yep. It will find that data context. I think that is, and we'll do this for now.
And this is bringing back some memories, but it's so fuzzy, especially because it's not. I don't think it's 1-to-1 XAML with like WPF days. So.
Yeah, it's not, because it's modified over. I mean, gosh, back in the time I did XAML, probably the last one was in the early Windows Phone days. It was probably the last time I did XAML before picking it back up again here. So we've got our collection view. We said what items are binding to it. We're not going to worry about selection right now, but we do want to go ahead and start defining, as you mentioned, the collection view and then the item template. Yep, there we go. And then inside of here, because we've got to fill up with some stuff. Sorry? Let's take a look. This came back into our results. So if I'm not mistaken, we should be able to do, let me just make sure I got the context right. So from here, it's results and then items. Yeah, okay.
You put like some kind of label or display thing in here, right? What is it? A data template. Oh, because there's like is this where you have those things like edit templates and all those other kind of templates?
I think there's an edit template. Let's take a look. So when you go to edit mode.
I'm wondering, I'm thinking that was like usually, maybe not in this particular view, but.
Yeah, but yeah, that was what you had. If I was just looking at it, this is how it displayed. When I was actually editing it, I could get to different controls and different components inside of there. So let's see. So from here, should not have to do anything else. Well, I could do. Let's just try it like this for now.
Some of the fields, right?
Yeah. So I could do grid, or let's just.
Oh yeah, you still have to put the grid in there. The grid is like the layout within the template.
Right.
Right. So it's a grid. So you're gonna have like XY coordinate kind of thing, right? Or you can just do a horizontal stack layout. Yeah.
So we could do that, and we could have something that is our image, and URL source, and that's going to be equal to, let's see, binding.
So you're at the item level now, right?
Exactly. So items, to these, and then that's under the snippet. Now under the thumbnails. let's say thumbnails.medium. That may not work.
Yeah. Now, is there?
So go ahead.
I guess you're not going to get any intelligence on that, right? Because it doesn't really know yet what that item is, right?
Exactly. We haven't told it.
Is there a way to do that somewhere? Like
I mean, there
Steam?
is. You could do an XML namespace, call it model,
Okay.
and set it equal to always forget what that class. See how in namespace. There we go. TDTS models.
Oh, that's cool.
So now
You get
could say
model. Okay. You get any kind of help there? I'm just curious, like now that it knows it's snippet or thumbnails.
yeah.
Thumbnails. Something doesn't seem right there.
No. So this is snippet. Oh, because it's lowercase.
So what was that first one? Because it was like dot into it, but
it did. So if I was to go ahead and wipe this out, right, because it knows that our model is snippet, and that comes from because of the way this is. Here's our class, right? It's got its own class called snippet. Inside of there is other classes like thumbnails and such, but for this, right, thumbnails. If I was to do,
so it's able to walk that, right? It's like, oh, results has a snippet, so it can help us now.
Yeah,
exactly. So thumbnails dot medium, and that would be the source for our image.
This also like gives you some confidence that it's going to work. I'm sorry to feel that way about it, but it's like, hey, look, it seems to kind of know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm glad you're confident. There we go.
What is it? What do you put here? Like a label or something like that? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so you're trying to remember my.
We'll give it some style because it's going to be our title. This one will be
static resources. Oh,
I know, right? Everybody's groaning because it's bringing back memories.
A little bit, yeah. Is it resource or resources? Why did I think it's resources, but maybe it's not?
They may have changed it to be singular now, but
okay.
Text for this is going to be binding, and in this case, the binding is going to be binding title, and then let's close it out.
Okay, let's see if this works.
Yeah, I mean, if it just works, then we'll say everybody thanks for joining. No, just kidding. Because it can't be that easy. It can't be that easy. Now, look, if you haven't seen XAML before, I would totally get it if you're saying things like, what's the deal with the X colon, Y? And we'll come back to that, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's like the kind of thing where you say, hey, this sort of reminds me a little bit, frankly, of like HTML, but it's not. And that's probably the learning curve that I remember, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We talked about this last time, Chris. I think we had a conversation about this kind of stuff and said, you can do Maui with Blazor, right? And if you choose to, right, you can do it with Blazor. So if you like XAML, you can have that experience. If you like a Blazor or Razor type of experience, you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, that's I think an interesting idea that if you are familiar with web technologies, you know, Maui, the layering of the architecture can be a little confusing, but Maui is not what's prescribing XAML. Maui is the multi-platform app UI, I think. It's like a host. It's the same way that Blazor is a host, you know, because people when we've had shows about Blazor just immediately assume that it's about WebAssembly, and it's like, oh, that's one target.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to do that, but yeah. So
let's stop this and see if we can get this to redeploy.
okay.
I feel like I can do this drum roll, but after last time, like I don't know if my drum roll is long enough for that. I could give it.
Oh, here it comes.
Oh, look at this.
I think it didn't data bind.
That's harsh, man.
Now, was there something else there? You set the binding context. I have like these vague memories of a data bind function, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to pretend that this is the same way that things always used to be. That's not fair, right? Like,
right. And I don't think that's. That's not it at all.
There's a set binding method that does. I'm just looking at something here. I don't know if I'm jumping in and whatever, but must be called on the target object to bind a property of that object to a property of the source object. I don't know what that means.
well, the difference is I think you did bindings with the binding context. I'm sorry. You're specifying the data binding in XAML, and that's another thing that's a little unusual. If you wanted, you didn't have to do any of what Rich did to try to bind up in XAML. He could have just said, hey, here are the controls, and then you come in here and write code that binds it up.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it through your
Right.
C# code. So this is just making sure we've got an object that gets loaded and it's got our pieces in it. So we can come back to here.
You set the item source?
We did. So we still got the same thing, our same information. It's all there. We set our binding source to the results.
Item source equals binding. Okay, the example I'm doing does it a little differently, but I might not. I just jumped and looked into this thing. I didn't grab it, so I didn't read all the details.
No, I'm saying, and I'm kind of winging it for how the structure is. So,
do you think it has to be results and then items, or you're already accounting for that, right?
I think that's what we were accounting for by saying. Oh, you're right.
Does it have to be results dot items?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because results isn't going to have anything there that we never talk about items. Good catch there, Chris.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if we could have hot reloaded that.
Yeah, that's what I was. Well,
Yeah. Let's go with that. Okay, maybe this works. Isn't there? So we got a home page. So the screen loaded.
You set the color. Is it possible it's there? I've had that happen before, where it's actually like showing stuff, but you just can't see it.
Yeah.
It's the color's white on white or something weird like that. You know.
SAML live.
You have image source, binding.
And I'm wondering if we're too far.
What's the? You said binding equals items, but items isn't a thing because you don't have the. Don't you have to say has to be a property on the page?
Well, that would. I guess I lost you. Let me go back and take a look. So what you're saying is
binding is bound to items, but the code behind thing or whatever you call it, there's no property called items, right?
in the code behind. So in here, but it is because it's in the context.
Yeah, but context isn't been. Oh, binding context. Okay, right. You have that binding context. You sure you don't need to call a method called set binding or set anything? Maybe it happens automatically. Binding. All right. Yep. Yep. Okay, I get what you're saying. So you've set it equal to results. I don't think you need to do that set binding thing. I don't know. Maybe you do.
That's for a property.
Oh, okay. That's only for individual things. All right.
Yep. Good thing though.
So now it's set to results, the context, the binding context of main page, the whole main page. Yep. So if you go back to the thing, inside there you have a collection which is bound to items, which is it's the next property down, right?
Yes.
And then you have the data.
Sorry. One quick thing to think of, but I'll leave this up so you can look at it. But what I'm thinking is, what if we just put, to make sure we're in the right spot, here at that same level where, so results gives us all of this, right? That's the level where results is.
Yeah, just like bind a property to kind or something like that, right?
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah, just get like text. Forget this whole list thing.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, can I do this?
Put a stack layout. You can copy that stack layout or something like that and just put a label in there.
Yeah. Okay. Boom.
You can copy that one you have if you want. Yeah.
When we wanted to update the user interface.
Gee, it's like James was in my head.
Yeah. So here you're going to do binding title. I don't know if you need to put that static resource on there. Little style.
I don't think we should need to.
Yeah, so if you just do that, comment out all the other stuff too, just to make sure.
Well, I mean, it's not causing an error, so.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So let's see if you got reload, baby. FTW.
Did it not reload? Or did I just turn it on?
You need to set the mode, or it would default to one-way binding, I think, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's not reloading because I'm not getting my breakpoint hit. So
you know what? One thing you could do.
What's that?
Let's really get back to basics. Go to that label and just put some text in there, like hard code text. Like, let's just make sure that it's not something else dumb like that, you know. You know, text equals hello world. Ooh. See, you get that video list response. It's typing that, it's giving you the type.
Which, well, that's the kind. Hang on.
Oh, kind. Is that what that is? Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Ah, okay. Well, so that's
So
kind
data's
bound,
binding.
but it didn't bind the first time. Did you notice that? Like until we put that, where's that other text that we put hello world? Or is that the way the layout is? Are they one over another? It's a stack layout, so they should be next to each other.
Right. So we just saved it. So if hot reload is working, that should get that page in there.
Okay, so the binding works though. That's great.
That's a win.
Item, yeah, item source. Something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
What does the JSON look like again? It's kind, items, and then items is an array. Items is an array, and then it has stuff in it like snippet, right? Which is what we want.
Yep.
Okay. So in each of the items, we want to dive into the snippet, but what we've got to do is we've got to get that collection to go ahead and say, hey, I got to go through each item.
Yes. Oh, well, no.
All right, I'm looking at list view, item source. So you got, are you using a list view? What were you using?
Not list view. Collection view.
Collection view. Okay. So I see this stuff where it says, I don't know. See, I don't know if this is right. Binding source for cells and children of cells is the list view item source. I'm looking at a list view sample, and it has stuff like where it says item source equals, and then it's like x colon static. Have you seen that? Like, I don't know what that does. Local. I don't know what that does.
Hmm. That should be the right
Samples
layer.
I see are using a list view. What's the difference between a collection view and a list view? Are you familiar with those?
I am not. But the documentation would help us. Because you're not minimized. Oop.
Rich, I just pasted something in the back channel chat, just to, if you take a look at that and see if that looks familiar to you at all.
Static local named color. No, it doesn't. Doesn't mean it's not. We should.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either. It's got this X static thing, and I don't know what that means. If it doesn't look familiar, then it wasn't in the demo that you copied or whatever, you know.
Yeah. All right. So let's think about this. We're getting binding because kind has made it there. The item source should be a item source should be object that has our items, our collection of items, or yeah, in this case, items is redundant, but our collection of objects. And then the item template. I wonder if that's why, well, the data type is snippet, but does it need to be, items?
Okay, so I see something that has it. Does the list view need to have a name? Did you put like X name? Is that like required or something like that? The collection view?
It's not required.
Okay. Then you went to data template. You went to item template. So I'm looking at examples with list views, which is different. A list view, you have to create this like grid. That's probably what that is. But data template grid.
All right, one other thing we can do, if we go to here and we say, let's not overcomplicate that. So that's items. Items are YouTube videos, and it should have an ID. So, what if we didn't do that?
Yeah, maybe that's screwing it up.
We don't do this.
Go to the image and just put the label in there, right? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now, all right. So help me with this, Chris, since you guys got it working last week. It says I'm hot reloaded. Hot reload is connected. And I saved the file. How do I get hot reload to?
So for the XAML, I think it kind of just worked. But if you made some changes to the C#, then you click the little fire looking thing next to the continue button.
This one?
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one. But yeah, like you said, he's changing the.
But you're changing the XAML.
But it's also binding, so I don't know how much that works. But yeah,
so
like magically.
Let's say we want to see this work, right? Let's say we want to see this happen. I would say, just to see something happen, like you're not getting the labeled text for hello world, right? And we're thinking that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe, yeah, why aren't you getting the
I was just thinking they're not behind each other, right? Because it's a stack layout, right? Does it need to be a vertical stack layout or a horizontal stack layout or what?
Oh,
like
good.
I wonder if it's not, I wonder if it's that we're just not even seeing the collection view rendered.
Wait, what's he doing?
I think, Andy, I think you're onto something.
And what I would say now is
a vertical goes inside a stack, or do you just need to get rid of stack layout altogether?
You get rid of stack altogether.
And then just save the page and go back to the emulator. That's what we were doing last week. And it was cool. It was a cool experience, except for the part where
it didn't work.
Well, no, wait, actually, you're still seeing. So, like, I was going to say, in order to, and you don't have a XAML reload window, which we had too. I don't know where that window went for you, and I'm sorry, I just don't know where it went.
Like
there it is. Yeah, that XAML
right
live
there?
preview. Yeah. Like, what if you change the binding from kind to a different value, and then let's see if the hot reload does anything.
Okay. So that would be something like etag.
Yeah, like the etag. Yeah. And part of this is just to partially prove that we could take advantage of hot reload, and then maybe that'll make working with this a little simpler.
Yes, it's just not reloading.
Now, what does it say there? XAML hot reload timed out attempting to connect to the deployed application. Try rebuilding and redeploying. So probably not what you wanted to see.
Yeah.
Another thing we could do for speed is we could deploy this to like the Windows target, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably be a little quicker.
I just noticed Loca's jumping in here. Can we put breakpoints inside the XAML? I thought you can do that, right? Because that might be interesting as well. Like to put a breakpoint on the. I don't remember if you can do that. I don't know if Loca is saying that as like, can you? Yeah, like there, it allows a breakpoint, right?
Seems to.
So I guess if we run it now, maybe we'll see something.
Like I was gonna say, change the target to Windows, just so.
That's right. You did say that.
So we don't watch this thing go up, but whatever.
Yeah, it'll be faster if you do something like it. Right. Oh, that's the other breakpoint. Okay.
All right.
Oh,
so
look.
Well, hey
so
there.
things are different.
Mm-hmm.
We got
maybe it was just frozen somewhere. Like the whole thing was probably working all along.
Yeah.
But-
So
So
now head back to XAML and change something. Like change hello world since we're seeing it.
Or etag can be ID again or something like that. You know, whatever. What did we have it before? Not kind. Yeah.
And then just save it and see how that. So it's a pretty cool way of working. So now we see the item source is actually getting bound, right? The image source
absolutely
maybe is yeah, like just keep working at it now. I feel like we'll see. I think though. Okay. So yep, look at that. Look at that. And then
so I think we were a little stuck on something that was like a frozen XAML thing, you know?
Right, like the emulator was frozen a little bit, but we were kicking
you
ourselves.
Put that image source in there now.
Yeah, we'll bring that back in.
Yeah.
So the good news is here. So and I wanna say, like, we set the binding context directly to a class, which is an okay thing to do. We set it directly to the data, and now we're binding to bits of the data. What's jogging my memory here is the MVVM style, where you instead bind to a view model, and then the view model implements things like iNotify property change and stuff, which we are not doing right now.
Right.
But you know, that's like the next level of this is to, right now we're just giving it data to bind to. The next level of this is give it data and behavior to bind to.
Right. And that's...
So the image source didn't work.
Right.
Is it possible that that's a wrong
So my
Are
question now
those,
is,
if we look at the data, are those URLs?
yeah.
I see what you're
And
saying.
is it got to be like an href or is it source? Yeah, they are. Wait.
So it is a URL. So now what
No,
has
you
to
need
happen?
medium.url.
Nice catch.
Sure. I wonder if an image source can take a URL, but we're about to find out.
Yeah, that's what I was also saying. I don't know,
Or if
but
maybe you've
URL
got
would
to
be
turn it
important.
into a .NET image, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you image source is not like it's expecting like a file. I think,
Uh,
isn't it?
So let's see. Bind an image. There's
image.source.
something called there used to be something called a URL image source.
Mm.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And
Is that one
so,
of those converters?
yes. Now, the way it looks, if this still works, the way it looks though is different. You would create an image tag, and then inside the image tag, so kind of like you did a little bit earlier with the horizontal stack layout, just close that image tag.
No, hang on a second. I'm looking at something else that says
Okay.
image source takes, you can pass it a URL.
Okay.
Um,
Let's do this. Does our URL resolve?
Yeah, right. Like,
yeah,
let's see it as
first of all.
text. Sure.
Okay.
So that's the URL,
Right.
or that's what it comes back as.
Okay.
Okay. So that works.
So I have, let me just see the XAML again, because I'm looking at example image.
Mhm.
A source equals, now this one just, oh, why don't you just put get rid of the thing and just paste the URL in there.
Okay.
Like, let's find it. That'll take out let's find out if that whole thing works in general, right?
Yep. Sorry. Um, we didn't click
I'm sorry to be bossing you around. Like, do this, do that,
where are we here? Cool.
Yeah.
Copy. Uh-oh.
Oh, I see. So they've built into the XAML that if you drop in a URI, they detect that and they call image source dot from URI. Okay.
Yeah, they've kind of made it easier than it used to be. It might be that you have maybe you should make it a single thing because it's expecting something inside the tag.
In here?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Make that what do you call that? Yeah, like that. Because because when you do it that way, it's expecting something inside it, I think.
Now
Possibly.
we're getting that XAML hot reload timed out again. So I wonder,
There it is again.
I don't know for sure if we've lost it. Because it doesn't look like any of your other changes took effect either.
No. So let's do this. First, we're going to take your suggestion. Let's do
What's the quickest one?
I think just like Windows machine will be quick. I hope. Famous last words. Windows machine will be quick.
What are you doing?
No.
Shutting down the
Sorry.
emulator?
No, I didn't hit the green button. I switched it, but we didn't hit it.
There is a property called URI image source, if like Chris was saying, but I don't think you need that. I think this will shortcut it.
It's still loading. Oh, there we go. Wow, that's even worse.
Yeah, what's going on here? Huh.
Chris, that was a bad idea.
We'll go back over to the XAML.
Back over to the XAML.
Yeah, maybe you have something invalid in the XAML.
Possible. And it might be this.
And like just get rid of the image again and see if we can bring it back.
Yeah.
Do you need image size? I kind of remember something about these things are like minuscule if you don't default the size or something weird like that.
I don't know. That's so strange.
How did we lose that thing?
Yeah, I thought that would help, but
horizontal stack layout. I'm confused. Very strange. Odd day here on the Dev Talk Show.
Rich comes back, everything breaks.
Yeah. Don't think that's it. You weren't stuck at your breakpoint, were you? Like something like that, where like we don't realize it. I don't think so.
Nah, I'll get rid of that because we don't need it anymore. Yeah, that's really weird. So that's not showing up at all.
wow, we were better off in the emulator for some reason. I can't really explain.
Let's look at this for a second. Selection mode, none. Data. So we got the two labels, but the collection view isn't binding at all. So is items is correct, we determined earlier? It was working when we had items in there.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's selection. Yeah. Collection view.
Did you ever get the description working? Like, did that ever work?
It didn't pop.
No.
Well, let's hang on.
Title work. Once you maybe that's what broke it. Let's just see if you take description out.
Okay.
Should work. It's no different.
Yeah.
This
I feel like you got
XAML hot reload connected.
Refresh or something like that, but
Sorry?
yeah, see, Tiwahoo says set the width on the image, which is what I was saying before also. But now we're not even getting the titles and stuff like that to show up. Unless we need to put some sort of sizing on this. The stack layout shouldn't need a size, right? It's supposed to expand.
Right.
But I what Tiwahoo's saying, I remember running into issues with some of those things. Tiwahoo, by the way, saying, been a while since a XAML project, but now I want to revive a project with Maui. Well, that's good that we haven't turned you off.
Yeah.
But something is, I'm a little skeptical on a lot of this stuff here. And I don't mean about the Maui thing, but something hasn't been working right. Rich, we've done things and they worked and then they didn't work. And
okay, so
it works. What did you change?
I just restarted it.
okay.
Yeah, something's like it's getting stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you just copy that label and don't even change title, just leave title in there twice.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then see if it reloads and then change title and description. Okay, going for it that way. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So does that? So did that work with hot reload?
Let's see.
Where is it?
Coming back. Yeah. So right now I can't Make it show.
Something's, I think, might be your machine really just bogging out here.
Yeah. I mean, these are, I think they just updated. It's still preview, at least this environment is, even though Maui is in place. The bits are not in the full-on version of Studio yet. And that has both of them there. So that put both titles in, no problem.
Oh, okay, good. So it has, does it have both of them? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right next to each other. Okay, so if you change one of those just to description, and I'm doing that to try to make as little changes. Oh, okay, good. So now, if you uncomment the image source, do we think it might work? Come on, come on.
There you go.
So it's really, I don't think we were doing anything wrong. I mean, we might have had some little mistakes here and there, right? But I think this is more of a problem with, machines like bogged down, I think, or something, right?
Something, yeah. I mean, the fact Hot Reload wasn't working,
Right. And
I
then
mean,
look at this. This is nothing different than we did. Now, I have one for you. Change the URL to be the property. Let's see if we can get that.
Oh, yeah.
On a roll here. So it's going to be like binding snippet. What was it? It was like thumbnail, medium, something like that. .url.
I think so. Oh, wait.
I saw something change. Did you see how quick it changed in the hot reload?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, look, we got it. I do think we got it. Good. We persevered. Look at that. Right?
Cool. I didn't see that change, but that's all right.
I don't know if it did or not. It was hard to tell. Well, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if the size of the image is different than the size of the image object on line 15, right? Is it possible that that thing is defaulting to a size in the stack layout and that you're just, I don't think so, but I think it would be height, or yeah, width or height or something like that. Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, style. Now you're really getting crazy.
I think we get the idea.
But you're right. It didn't change. And you know what, though? It may be frozen again. Like maybe it's just like, you could change something else and see if, yeah. No, that one's still moving. That's good.
So I guess you can put in something called you can put in like a width. There's a width request property and a height request property, which I guess is like saying like if you can fit it in here. I think that's interesting.
Oh, look at that. That worked. It's possible that the small image and the medium image are really the same size.
Could be. I mean, it's not going to matter if you've got the height and width request in there, right?
Yeah, those to make the requests faster, right? It's bringing down a smaller image, but I wonder if there's really not actually a difference between the two of them or something like that. I don't know why there wouldn't be, but look, we're starting to see the binding, like this stuff kind of coming together with the hot reload too, which is such a cool feature.
Yeah, when that works, that's pretty awesome. And I think where, I remember I kicked off by saying I want to rebuild the machine. So that could be part of the reason why we're running into issues here.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking, though.
What's that?
ship it, right? Like, let's put this in the like
Into the
in
Microsoft
Windows
store. Yeah, sure. I mean,
Yeah,
why
like
not?
this is really nice. I think. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, don't kill it. Don't
Into the
take it away.
Google Play Store by next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is ready to go. I mean, who wouldn't? And listen, I think people would pay good money for this, but I think we should make it free. I don't know
Well,
about
sure.
you guys.
That's
crazy
very
talk.
generous. That's very generous.
Well, I mean, well, we could do like make it free, but then have like inside, purchases. What do they call in-app purchases?
Oh, really?
Oh, throw ads in there.
So what would the? Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, we got it. Let's ship it. I mean, is this? It took us a while to get here, Rich. Were there specific other features you were looking to see, or did we actually kind of get to, what you're looking for?
Hang on. No, I think we got the initial binding done and took longer than I thought. I thought we'd be able to move into saying binding's great, we can get stuff in there. But I think as Chris mentioned, if we wanted to do some of the commanding and maybe some things that are more observable properties and two-way binding, those kind of things are things that we would, to do them right, we would need the MVVM pattern in there to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
like
I
last
like
time.
the MVVM pattern.
Last time I think we worked a lot more with, like, one of the things we did is really we were kind of just looking at the developer experience. We we enabled a second page, if I remember correctly. We enabled a second page, and then we also like got the accelerometer working. Not that we were getting anything valuable out of it. At least we just showed, hey, we are actually getting data off the device, which was really cool.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
But we didn't touch any of this. We didn't mess with XAML. There's a little bit of a faded memory for me with XAML when we're working, but when you start, there's a learning curve, no doubt about it. But when you get it, it's really neat to watch you basically just telling the XAML, hey, this property is what you want, and it just starts filling in.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty cool seeing
By the
that
way, you see
happening
what
behind, off on the side.
You see what Loca said in the chat? I guess this was in reference to the app being free. And if we buy that vertical monitor, Loca suggests that we throw in a free copy of the Maui app that we're making.
I love it.
So I'm wondering, is this app going to end up on, like, I do think that there's it's worthwhile to get something, even if it's not like the greatest app, everybody can't wait to download it, but something that people could go download, play with, and then go get the code.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That part is really cool.
Yeah, we might need to
That I
add
agree.
a bit more to it.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should
But
actually,
I
I mean,
don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
that's okay. I think, you're right. I mean, right now it's talking to a static file, actually a static property with that data in it. So wiring up the APIs and getting those kind of things.
Yeah.
Not even really connected. That's true.
Mm-hmm. But it looks good.
Yeah. So what do we think? We learned some stuff.
We did.
I think we got to
we
got to get back to work on our thumbnails.
And
We've been letting
Yeah,
YouTube
that's
generate
the
them for a little
same?
bit. No, it's just YouTube's generating them, and we haven't been curating them really.
I think I've been wearing the same blue shirt. I wear a lot of blue shirts. Each one of those, I have a different blue shirt on. It looks like.
The blue shirt would be your thing, right?
I'm
There
like
you go.
Scott Goo with the red shirt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is Azure Blue. Azure isn't. It's not. I don't think Azure is a blue, right? Am I right about that?
It is.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think?
That was cool. And so tonight, Rich, you showed a couple you had a couple blog posts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to drop, so maybe you can bring it up for us. I'm going to drop
Where you
into
dropping
our...
it?
Yeah, I dropped basically the link directly to the Learn path.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, down in the description below, we have the 2 blog posts that Rich shared with us earlier, and we have this that's on the screen right now, which is the Microsoft Learn path for .NET MAUI. And you can get started, and it'll show you how to do some stuff. And there's actually a lot more resources in this that I will probably dig up and throw into those notes. I know that I'm going to get his name wrong, right? It's James Montemagno. Man, I always get his name wrong. I feel terrible because he's probably one of the absolute
I think
best
I was
people.
right. Montemagno?
Yeah, one of the very best people you should be watching, quite frankly. Oh, in fact, I've got that series here. You might have already found it, but it's the .NET MAUI for Beginner series. I'll make sure to get that in the show notes.
Yeah. And can you turn off my screen for a minute?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch to us. So there you go.
Okay. Because there's one more link I want to make sure we put in there.
Okay.
And I actually think it is up on that dev blogs page that we were looking at just from a few weeks ago. Before I went on vacation.
I threw in a new resources to get started with .MAUI link, with .NET MAUI link that I don't think we showed.
Oh,
is that the one you're looking for?
That was the one with the whole list of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely check that out. That was what I was going for. Okay.
So I threw that. So there's a bunch. You're going to see a bunch of stuff sitting in Discord now. But let's put it this way. You're watching on YouTube. You're watching on Twitch. Head to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheDevTalkShow. This video live right now in the show notes right now, the 4 links to some cool blog posts. This blog post that Rich is putting up on the screen. I'm going to switch back now, Rich.
Yep, go for it.
Wait, so you're updating the notes while we're streaming?
Yeah, YouTube is cool about that.
Do that.
Yeah, YouTube's pretty cool about that. So
that's a good idea because we always forget to do it afterwards. Right?
Yeah,
so
that's what I tried to do tonight. Is I was like, hey, let me just start plopping stuff in there while we're talking. And I tried to keep track of some timestamps a little bit so I can go back and chapter it later. But
nice.
What do you know? We're gonna try to produce the show here. What a concept!
Oh, now stop.
Yeah. So I think they're pretty cool things to look at. And when we're looking for something to do this summer, I have a feeling it will be work on the Dev Talk Show suite of apps and extensions that we've been kicking around. Because heck, before we know it, we'll be killing it with this stuff. So
exactly.
This was cool, Rich. Thanks for doing some legwork as far as, because we would have been looking at the Hello World part. So that's cool that was done.
Yeah, I wish I retained more. I did one and was hoping that this could be a show one. But I think we'll definitely, as you said, continue to build on this and get that in better shape so people can access it and see it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, feature chat died on me, so I was unable to, it just stopped working. It's back now, though. Back now. So I can actually do stuff like this again. And then this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to get some of the comments up, and just stopped working.
And I'm only just catching up on the comments now.
Tiwa, who likes your shirt.
Yep.
Thank
Loco
you.
was saying the app is free with the $699 monitor. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey. So we're finishing off June. Next week in the United States is Independence Day on Monday. A lot of folks have that day off, national holiday. And then on the 6th is Wednesday. I don't know if it's too early to ask if there's going to be a show.
Oh, look, there's the logo. There's the shirt. There's the shirt. What happened? I saw it. There it is. .NET MAUI dark mode.
Yeah.
That's
let me see if I can
nice.
brings it a little bit. And yeah, so this is the one that I'm wearing, the dark mode one. I think it's the the storm color specifically.
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one. Looks like they are still on sale potentially. There's a pullover, which has a bunch of different colors in it too, and they are appropriately priced. And what's great is, well, obviously they met their goal, but both of these, I think, proceeds support Black Girls Code Inc. So if you,
Oh,
yeah, so it was for a worthy cause as well, as wearing some cool swag.
did
So
not know that.
yes,
That's cool.
So, Chris, I can paste the link in the chat.
Yeah,
then,
I put the link in the chat.
Awesome.
And it will end up in the YouTube notes too if you're watching now or in the future on YouTube.
Yep. Definitely. Cool.
All proceeds go to charity. That is cool. So even the mug, all these things. This is a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got
It's
the
not affiliated
throwback to
with
the samurai.
Microsoft. Somebody put these up here. I guess they probably had to get permission to use the logos or something like that. But still, pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, although it's I don't know that that's the official logo, but just looking at the docs, so I think they're safe. Yeah, I don't not my yeah, and that's I've had this shirt for a while, so I know this has been out there and up sold for some time.
All right, cool. That was fun.
All right. Yeah. Wrap it up, I guess. So, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Take us out.
All right. Well, listen, we had fun tonight. Thanks, Rich, for fighting your way through that a bit, but the struggle's worth it. We get to see some stuff in the end, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had fun. And I hope if you're watching, you did. Chris, thanks for running things, and I like this idea of taking the show notes and producing that. That's cool. And putting that in the YouTubes. That's a value add right there. So I guess that's it for the Dev Talk Show for tonight. Hopefully, we will see you back next week on Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the Dev Talk Show.